Hello and welcome to the David Cowan Show. Today I have a friend with me from the UK. His name's Josh, and we're going to be discussing everything that's going on in the UK regarding the rollout and perhaps things that are going to be coming down the pipeline in the future. Welcome, Josh.
Thanks, David. Great to be here.
That's good. How are you going, mate?
Yeah, really well, thanks. Obviously, situation is so strange and difficult at the moment, and we have here in the UK we're still under a lockdown here. The plan is for it to start reopening. So yeah, I mean people are still sort of in their homes and not able to get out and go about their lives normally. But yeah, I mean it's okay. Getting through it. Getting through it.
Yeah, you guys have been in lockdown for quite some time now. Do you see the rollout of the inoculation? Do you think that's going to make any difference or?
Well, they claim it will. So yeah, we've been in lockdown since it must have been, I think it was December now. It's been about three months. But yeah, the supposed idea, the plan is that the inoculation will pretty much eradicate the disease, or if not eradicate it, with the impact of it on people and the severity of it. So based on that, they think they can start to reopen the country again, and that it'll start to recede. So I mean that's what they claim, but I guess that's what they see is the only way of reopening it. But it's time, so time will tell. But in terms of the rollout, the idea is, they want to inoculate as many people as they can in this country. I think by the summer, some middle of summer, I think the plan is to have offered every adult in the UK a chance of getting it, with the hopes that most of the population accepts it. And I think there is also potential plans for children to get it as well. I think they're still working on the can inoculate every single person in this country. I think they'd be quite excited by that idea. I think that's the idea. I mean, that's the ideal scenario.
Yeah.
Really, and yeah, I mean, there's always. I think we sort of discussed this before. They do this thing where they have something comes up, for example, like a certification of someone having received the inoculation.
Oh, sure, like a passport type thing.
Yeah, and they sort of say, "Oh no, we'd never do that. It's against civil liberties. It's a terrible idea." And then they'll backtrack a little bit. It's like, well, maybe you could have it in limited circumstances, but we're still not saying it's a good idea. And then where it's going to go is like, well, we'll kind of resign. I mean, we may as well do it now, sort of thing. So it's sort of like a little dance they play to sort of confuse people, and then it makes it seem to the average person as though it's happened through deep thinking and logical thought, if that makes sense, rather than
pre-planned something that's pre-planned.
Yes. So we really thought about this really hard, and it's really upsetting for us. But I think we should do this, And people are like, okay, yeah, that's a good idea.
Yeah, I know that Australia's thinking about something similar. Some sort of a passport, and Israel is definitely going that way. Yeah. So what can you tell me about the rollout at the moment? Has it been going to plan? Are they getting as many people as they want per week, or is it?
I think it has been going. It has been going really well from their perspective. I think there have been, there's stuff that comes up about certain groups are upset that haven't been able to receive it. There was an article yesterday about asthma sufferers who were saying that they were upset that they hadn't received it first, and then other disability groups as well, who've sort of been refused, and there's the whole thing. I think it's the case with perhaps other countries as well. There's always stories where some like celeb or something gets in line first, or perhaps some group which shouldn't be getting it before others. So there's a bit of that, but I think generally it's full steam ahead, and I can't remember the exact figures, but I think they're pretty happy with the way they're going. And the general impression that I get from speaking, the average people in this country, is most are quite excited about getting it.
Yeah.
Which right. For me is personally terrifying, but yeah, a lot of people are really anxious to get their hands on one, and so they can get on with their lives, which is sort of what I predicted. In a way, is people just want to live their lives, and whatever it takes, just give it to me, and just so I can get on with my life. So,
it makes sense. It makes sense that they would be doing, thinking like that. I even thought like that this time last year, before I realized it was all a scam.
Yeah.
I was even thinking, okay, we'll get the shot, everything will go back to normal. But then I realized, and I learned more about those things, and the companies behind them, and how corrupt they are, and how dodgy they are, and how unsafe and ineffective they are.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm with you on that. When it first started last year, I was thinking the same thing. I was like, okay, yeah, this is looking really bad. I mean, we need to do all we can to safeguard and all that stuff. And then slowly, the curtain started to be peeled away, and I was like, something's not quite right here. So I just knew eventually that people would just get fed up, and they just want to go on their summer holidays. They want to meet their family, and it's the way they set it up. I mean, if you lock people in their houses, the idea of just getting a quick jab is pretty decent bargain, I think, for most people. So but so it's full steam ahead in terms of the rollout. I think things are going well. The plan to offer it to most adults in this country probably by the end of the summer sometime, and the hope is most people take it, and the idea is to return to normal, and the jab will sort of soothe the effects of the disease.
Yeah, we had a bit of a survey here, and it was about 70% of people didn't want to get it, although the newspaper said it was 25%. So I don't know what to believe, but I would say that there are more people. Actually, I heard in this morning that the 200,000 workers in the NHS don't want to get it.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. So that's promising. That sounds promising to me.
Yeah. No, it does. It does. I mean, hopefully that's right. But I mean, you can never know with these polls and things like that, and surveys. What they sort of do to them. But yeah, I mean, hopefully that's a promising one. I think they've sort of tried to widen. Obviously to begin with, they had that group who were going to be the most important people who needed to be inoculated, because they were, supposedly in working in situations with vulnerable people, and so obviously healthcare workers, and then they sort of were thinking about expanding it to teachers as well. I think they sort of liked the idea of that. I think they might have got a bit of pushback on that when I say the government, and I think they sort of stepped back from that. But I think they wanted to widen the the group of people that in a way should be required to take it in order for them to do their work. And so I mean, let's put it this way. I think that the UK is very much the head of the inoculation program, and it's a big goal for I think our Prime Minister as well to be leading the global charge for it, and to be the number one leader. So, you know, after you set it up like that, you kind of know where it's going. But I think the idea is they want to be a global leader for this. And he's sort of met. Our Prime Minister spent time with, like Bill Gates, for example, and trying to build this sort of really global, program for inoculation and for the disease. So,
So what do you
definitely
see,
interesting.
what do you see coming down the pipeline in the future? Do you think a lot of people are going to get it, or do you think more people are going to say no, we don't want to get it, and what do you think is going to happen with the lockdown situation?
My hunch is that I still feel most people want to get it, really want to get it, because it's the same as it's the it's the same feeling of that people are abiding by the rules of like other stuff, like rules of the lockdowns and mask wearing and things like that. So it's the same thing, this good law-abiding citizen and doing the right thing to help, supposedly help everyone else. So I think most people take it, so they can get on with their lives. Going forward, I think, the plan is to start reopening it, and I think that will be, that the threat perhaps of closing things down again will be enough to push people to take it. And I think there will be peer pressure as well, because people say, come on, sure, we don't need to go through another lockdown. Why don't you just take the damn thing, so we can get on with our lives? Don't be so selfish. I don't want to be locked in my house again. And just because you won't take it, what's wrong with you? So
there's a bit of that.
I think they get.
The Queen said that, didn't she? Said something like that. If you don't get it, you're selfish.
Who said that?
The Queen.
Okay. Yeah, I think. Well, that's another interesting thing, isn't it? There's a lot of, if with these sort of videos as well, and like celebrities taking it, sort of like, well, if the Queen is taking it, then what's the problem, sort of thing. And it starts to build in people's minds. And I think there was that video the other day in the US with Dolly Parton, and she was having it, and she was singing a song about it as well. And it starts to make it nice and exciting and sort of quite, it's a cool thing. It's like, come on, man. I mean, what are you playing at? Like, everyone's getting it. So I knew that was going to be the case eventually, because that's just the way it works, like societal pressure works. It was always the greatest thing, that the people police themselves in a way.
They do.
It only needed an initial pressure and push from the government, and then after that, people pretty much policed each other. And I think it's. So going forward, what does that mean? I think it will mean that a lot of services and activities in this country anyway will require a person to have been inoculated. I think like music festivals, and like perhaps in large indoor venues like clubs and things like that. It's just. Because what they'll say is that, well, these are private companies asking. The government will say, well, we're not requiring it. It's just that these private companies are. They sort of shrug their shoulders, put their hands up, say, well, nothing we can do about it. If you want to go to a festival,
Yeah.
it's your choice to do that, and the rules before you go, and the company's asking you to be inoculated. So, and then travel's another one as well. I think for British travelers anyway, I think because there's such a push in this country, in terms of inoculation program, that I think countries around the world have expectations of British travellers now that, well, it's been going so well there that, it's not out of the ordinary to perhaps ask a British traveller or expect them to have been inoculated before they visit their country. It's like, well, we may as well. I mean, there's so many people inoculated there. We may as well. It's a luxury they can sort of afford it in a way, if that makes sense. So, we've had popular British destinations like Cyprus and Greece as well. They've sort of said, we'll plan to we'll reopen for those who've been inoculated, British holiday makers, and there's no way of going back from that. I mean, those are two destinations. Then I don't see how they could, or you could travel there without it, and you'll just get a hard time. They'll keep you locked up for like 10 days or something. So it has really wide societal impacts in the future, and I just don't know how that will affect people. Well, I think I know I do. I mean, it negatively, but it's there's a lot of questions about where the society will sort of operate in the future. I think the other thing that we spoke about was businesses as well. I also get the sense that
because so many businesses have been closed, right, the entire time.
I mean, like our pubs, English pubs, such a great institution of our country, and they've been shuttered and pretty much destroyed, really. And I mean, there's been some government help to keep them going, but I get the impression that there's too many small businesses, and if they can reduce the amount of small businesses, like the small shops, mom and pop shops, as they call them in America, like small bars and pubs and things like that. If they could reduce as many of those as possible, and then you have just like your large, like we have supermarket chains in this country like Tesco and obviously Amazon and things like that, and just rely on those more. I think that's and actually, which is actually crazy. And we had the budget, the Chancellor released a new budget, and they've hiked the VAT, the corporation tax for companies in this country, and we know that will disproportionately affect small businesses. It's not going to affect your Amazons and your Tesco's in this country. So,
sure.
Eddie, why would you do that after all this time when it's been locked down and these small businesses have already been suffering? I just think they just want to get rid of them, to be honest. Less small businesses on the high street, the better. So
well, I think that was the main plan. One of the big plans of the elite was to do that. Lock the whole world down so that they can destroy small businesses, and there are only big conglomerations that exist, because they control, they don't control the small businesses, they just control the big ones.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course the question will be from someone, push back, but why would they want to do that? But it's exactly as you say, it's a control thing, and it's not a out there concept, of centralizing control, centralizing food production, and knowing exactly where every piece fits in the puzzle of your economy or your country. And they can do that a lot easier, to be able to sort of track all these elements. It's a lot more difficult when you have like small farms and like small shops. You
Sure.
don't know and all that. So, and we obviously see that with, for example, in I'm talking about here, but around the world as well. Large sort of conglomerates like Bill Gates and Facebook trying to invest in agriculture around the world,
Yeah, exactly.
to really sort of centralize that. And it's
Yeah, it's like they've got a finger in every pie, and there are certain families as well in the financial sector, and not just the financial sector, but the two families that start with the letter R. I'm sure you know which ones I mean.
yes, yeah,
That they've got pretty much a finger in every pie too, and
yeah,
in some way.
yeah, yeah.
And
I mean that.
it kind of blows my mind for people who don't necessarily. I guess they don't know what they don't know, but for someone, you only have to look as far as the people behind those companies to know what's going on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. No, yeah, absolutely. It's about centralizing, making it easier to track all these different elements and moving parts, and obviously track people, what they're buying, what they're eating, where from, and yeah, I mean, it makes it easier for them to, I guess, monitor people and be able to strategize and think up new ideas or plans they have for the for the country based on that. And but it's just getting rid of civil liberties. I mean, that's just gone out of the window. I mean, that's been, for this country anyway, for the UK, that's been always been such an important part of our country, is freedom and civil liberties. Ever since Magna Carta and the signing of Magna Carta, and it's just been shot to pieces. But the way that the politicians in this country talk about it, as though it was just a necessary thing to to do, and it was right to do all these lockdowns and things like that at the expense of the freedoms and civil liberties. Because it was different this time. It's just not the way this country is or ever was. Principles it was founded on, and I had hoped originally that they wouldn't go down the path they did, but they did. But
You mentioned Magna Carta, and I wanted to ask you, because I know you're a lawyer. Do you see that, like, there's a way out through common law? You know what I mean? In terms of, because all the stuff that's going on is illegal,
yeah,
isn't it?
yeah,
On the law of the land, locking
yeah.
people down and closing their businesses and all that stuff, and having them, mandate a mask, like that's all illegal under common law. Do you see?
Probably, yeah. I mean, probably not, because that we have legislation in place that passed to Parliament, and Parliament is supreme. So we had legislation for this situation passed through last year,
Right.
which is law, and it details everything. So nothing, nothing can sort of trump that in a way. And there's all sorts of stuff, and that was passed last year. It's just ridiculous, the stuff that's in it. It's very similar to, I guess, how would you like the Patriot Act in the US after following following what happened in the US in 2001. And so similar to that, like all sorts of what people can be detained for, particularly for the situation with the disease. People can be detained and sort of forced to quarantine and forced inoculations, and all these things people don't believe, but it's in there. The ability to stop people, sweeping powers that just got passed through Parliament, and no one really had a chance to read it. And those will stay there. I mean, that's never going to, that's not going to go. I mean, they'll just use it for other things in the future. It's just super
For sure.
scary stuff, So
I saw a
yeah,
video.
unfortunately,
I saw a video last year, maybe late last year, about a group of people in London, I think, and they were saying that a lot of the politicians are now under house arrest. Do you know if that's true, or apparently they were placed under house arrest under common law because of all the laws they've broken? Because the law of the land is supposed to trump everything, isn't it?
it is. It is. Yeah, I mean, but obviously for this situation anyway, the law of the land is the legislation, so which has been passed by Parliament. By the house arrest, I mean, I haven't heard anything. I'm not aware of anything like that. I mean, nothing would surprise me, but yeah, I haven't heard anything like that. I mean, there have been challenges from a civil liberties perspective. In the UK, there's a group called Big Brother Watch, and they do some really good work to challenge this. They've done previous challenges to like facial recognition cameras by police, and in public spaces. And so I think they've been trying to challenge that, but it's a difficult thing to do. When you have the legislation passed by Parliament, majority of politicians in Parliament, with the royal assent to it as well, it's difficult to try and challenge that. But yeah, that's currently what is the law of the land at the moment. So yeah,
It's kind of scary. I mean,
yeah,
common law is something I need to get more well versed in, and I think everybody should be. But
yeah. I mean, the idea behind common law it's just precedent basically. So that's how law was created and is still created until legislation is passed. And once the legislation is passed, it doesn't matter so much about common law. But yeah, I mean, the idea is that common law is precedent based on previous decisions. That's how it started when the king would send his magistrates out to the different parts of England, and to decide the cases in local villages and towns and all that stuff, and that would start precedent. And I mean, that's how we have common law today in this country and many other countries around the world. But for this, we had the legislation, and Parliament is supreme. So that's what happens in this situation. But yeah, it's definitely worth something to look into, like to know your rights and things like that. It's definitely interesting. Like I said, it's like with this civil liberties standpoint, we should have been doing. That's something this country prides itself on, but it just threw it in the trash basically, and now it's just the legislation that was passed was really scary stuff. Most people don't even know. The other thing was like it widened the definition of the type of person who can administer the inoculation. It's not just a medical professional. It's like policeman, firefighter. And people go, oh well, they just did that because just in case it got really, really bad. That's really bad, and they needed more help. Whatever, it's just precaution. But once you put that into legislation, that's never gonna be repealed. I don't think so.
No, we've got a bit of a situation here with the military who's going to administer it in New South Wales, and the legislation states also that if the military doesn't do it for whatever reason, then the person who goes out there to do it, and they if they don't inoculate anybody, they can be imprisoned as well. Like the actual the actual military can be in prison for not doing their job, which I think is
Yeah.
crazy. But you can see what's going on. You know, you can see that. I mean, hopefully it doesn't get to that. I'm really hoping that this is all a smokescreen, and you know, seen too much to suggest otherwise at this point. Like, there's a lot of weird stuff going on. You know, a lot of disclosure in the media, and a lot of people are being arrested, and you know, people are standing down. So I do really feel like the white hats are in control.
Yeah.
It's just that they're rolling these things out, and people need to see that the evil really of the government itself. You know, and people that's what's waking people up. In some cases, it's not going to wake them up at all, but I would, you have to question a lot of things, definitely.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's just this drive to want to inoculate so many people. It doesn't add up, and it never has for the threat that this disease has posed. You know, this type of reaction would be warranted if literally people were dropping dead in the streets. You know, you're doing shopping and people just, that would warrant the type of reaction that they're doing now. It's like, we need to inoculate everyone, because if not, you could just collapse and die in the streets. And it just doesn't match the urgency to, you know, that's the scariest thing, the urgency to inoculate people. It's just it's weird. It's just weird, and just doesn't add up. And yeah, I mean, I have no idea what these things are, or what they contain. I mean, yeah, it's just a difficult one to tell, really. But it's just, it's just weird. It's weird and kind of scary that they want to you know, get it to everyone around the world, basically, not just in this country.
And that should be the biggest. That should really be the biggest slap, well, not slap in the face, but the biggest telltale sign that something crazy is going on, that something a little bit strange is going on, when every single country has reacted in the same way. You know, like everyone locked down at the same time, March last year or whenever it was, or pretty much everyone, and now they're all rolling this thing out, and it's like a 99.97% survival rate. So why would you even need why would you even need a shot? And
I mean, it turns them into lunacy when they're even suggesting, talking about this country, and they're suggesting, inoculating kids, even when they admit themselves that there's like no evidence that, according to their statistics, and that their kids are affected by this disease. But it's kind of like, well, we know they don't really get it, but we may as well inoculate them anyway. I mean, let's just do it for fun. I mean, that's literally what the idea is. I mean, that's what they're writing about and they're talking about. It's like, well, they don't need it, but we may as well give it to them anyway. Seriously, that's what they have in mind. And it's just nuts. That's when you know that something's not quite right.
Yeah, I think we'll probably leave it there. We'll just edit that part out that I just said, but let's wrap it up, because it's been it's been quite a while now.
Cool. All right.
So how do you want to take this out? I'll just say well, I think that might be a good place to leave it. Josh, is there anything else you'd like to add before you go?
No, not no. I think that was great, and I really appreciate being with you here today. And hopefully, you can speak again soon.
Yeah, thanks for coming on, and no doubt I'll speak to you in time.
Great. Yeah. Speak again soon. Take care.